All right, Paul Saladino's diet for bodybuilding, weight cut edition. So this is a diet I haven't heard many bodybuilders or just dudes that lift weights, like specifically to be huge, talk about much. And especially in a weight cut, that is surprising to me because, well, I've been doing it for 3 or 4 months now. It's the best, by far, diet I've done for cutting weight. And I've always had a hard time cutting weight. And that fucks up your bodybuilding process. If you have a hard time cutting weight, then you're going to spend a bunch of time in limbo, not quite bulking, not quite cutting. You're just in this weird middle area, you're not really getting anywhere. And that was me for years. This diet has been the quickest, easiest weight cut I've ever done for so many different reasons I'm going to go into today. If you don't know who Paul Saladino is, used to be a carnivore, decided carnivorism's kind of mid because you need fruits and dairy to really optimize your life. So he created the diet. Well, he didn't really create it. This is how we ate for thousands of years. Really, it should be called the ancestral diet, but I think Liver King fucking took that shit. So it's just meat, fruit, and dairy. Ideally, organic, grass-fed, like good non-GMO garbage diet if you can. But primarily, the concept is dairy, fruit, and meat. So let's go into it. First things first is this diet's great for cravings. You're going to get rid of your candida, so you're not feeding your candida with gluten and sugar anymore. You're not going to have cravings for sugar constantly if you have a sweet tooth because half the fucking shit you're eating is fruit. So you don't go into a service station and go, I'll take that Red Bull and that fucking Coke and that whatever. The sugary garbage that you eat or the processed garbage that you eat is no longer going to be any issue. And that has been the biggest issue for me in weight cuts previously. So when I go into service stations or anywhere nowadays, I have zero cravings. I don't think about that. And historically, I mean, fuck man, gluttony has been such a problem for me. It's like my biggest sin, it's my biggest addiction is food. I'm insane with it, right? But with this diet, it's entirely removed all of that. A side point to this is also just general biological cravings or biochemical cravings or deficiencies. If you have nutrient deficiencies, your brain is going to trick you into getting that shit in the most palatable way. So, for example, women on their periods, they want more sodium. And so you notice women on their periods would be like, I want chips. Because their brain's going, we need sodium. What's the most palatable form of this fucking thing? How do I get it the easiest way? How do I get this bitch to go out and get it and fucking consume it? Well, it's salty chips. So you stop craving the most palatable version of things because you already have all these nutrients. So if for no other reason you decide to try this diet out, do it because you have cravings. If you struggle with cravings like I do, this is the best fucking diet for you. Outside of maybe keto or carnivorism, they do a similar thing in the sense that you stop craving food, but then you don't get glycogen, you get the keto flu, you get vitamin C deficiencies, you get all the downsides, and you could have just had fucking add fruit and dairy and you'd be golden. It's the same fucking thing. Next is it's sick for building muscle, or at least maintaining it. Now, if you're in a weight cut and you're losing muscle or you're losing strength, a lot of times that's programming or poor programming. People just fucking suck at programming their workouts. Maybe you haven't adjusted your volume or intensity or frequency based off your calorie deficit, or your programming was just already shit, but you thought it was good because you're bulking, and well, you can make up for a lot when you have an extra 1,000 calories in your system. But if your programming's good, you understand exercise science, and you're losing muscle and strength, then it's probably dietary. Well, it has to be. That or sleep or some other aspect. But if everything's on point, and you're still not really getting progressive overload in the gym while you're wearing a weight cut, or you're losing muscle and you're not like hyper advanced in the gym, then there's something wrong with your diet. If you're eating things that don't serve you when you weight cut, it's going to fuck you up. Every single calorie counts because you're already in a deficit. Now with this diet, everything you eat serves you. There is no fluff and pump bullshit. There's no fucking pasta. There's no fucking sugary garbage shit. It's all the most nutritious versions of food, and therefore you don't then get the micronutrient deficiencies that also potentially give you the cravings, as I was just saying. Those micronutrient deficiencies, if your body is not operating at 100%, it's going to be very fucking hard for you to build muscle and strength. Part of why people lose muscle on a deficit isn't just because they just don't have as much food to build up on. It's also because they don't have enough nutrients to build off. So for me, in the last 3-4 months of doing this diet, I've literally built muscle and strength at rates very similar to bulking. And that's unheard of, because in past times, I would oftentimes have very minimal progress, or I'd just maintain weight. And other times I'd actually lose muscle and strength. That could have been more programming oriented, but in general, I've never had this kind of strength and muscle increase on a weight cut. It's just never happened. Part of that also is because when you do this diet, you're going to have a higher metabolic rate. your basal metabolic rate is going to be higher because your thyroid is going to be functioning so much better. When you're bogged down by a bunch of processed garbage foods, your thyroid is going to function better. When you have more micronutrients, your thyroid is going to function better. And when you're consuming a lot of quick-acting sugars, your thyroid is going to function better. Ray Peat, one of the leading, nutritionists of our era, did a bunch of studies where he just fucking had people drink Coke, which is not ideal, by the way, but they just drank a bunch of sugary Coke and their thyroids function better. Now imagine you eat good quality fructose and sucrose in the form of honey, apples, etc. Your thyroid's going to go off. So for me, anecdotally, ordinarily my calorie intake at 80 kilos currently would be about 2,000 as a basal metabolic rate. Right now, it's easily somewhere in the ballpark of 2,800 because I'm steadily losing about half a kilo a week at 2,500 calories, which would ordinarily be a surplus. But on this diet, it's a fucking deficit. So I'm building muscle and strength not too dissimilar to when I'm bulking up, and yet I'm losing weight because I have significantly more proteins, carbs, and nutrients available because I'm eating 500-600 calories more than I normally would to lose weight. So not only are you going to build muscle and strength because of that, you're going to also mentally and physically feel better. When you're fucking starving yourself, you're going to get cravings, you're going to be hungry as fuck, you're going to get hunger pains, and you're going to mentally feel like shit because you're going to have fuck all glucose in your brain, and you're just generally going to be craving food all day and feel like shit. If you don't have those kind of issues, it's going to be so much easier to adhere to the diet and get it out of the way. I can't tell you the last time I was hungry on this diet. I'm not craving shitty foods, but then on top of that, the volume of food is higher because I'm eating more calories. And then on top of that, fruits and meats and dairy are generally very voluminous. Like if you eat a kilo of fucking watermelon, that's a bunch of fucking food volume, and yet it's only like 200 calories. Meat's highly thermodynamic, and thus it heats you up and holds you over for longer, which also potentially increases your metabolism. And so you're gonna mentally feel better, you're gonna physically feel better, and you're gonna get stronger in the gym as you weight cut. This is a perfect feedback loop or positive feedback loop for adherence. Next point is no more brain fog. So this works in a few ways. One, when you're not eating a bunch of inflammatory garbage like sugar and wheat and just fucking like shitty, useless vegetables that don't serve you any way, that are less micronutrient dense than meat and dairy and fruit in most cases, you're going to feel better mentally and have no brain fog. You'll be able to focus. I can't tell you how fucking important this has been for me. As a guy that runs a business, who does, mixed martial arts, who lifts weights, who does a bunch of fucking things all day, I'm constantly going, my ability to focus is really important, but also my ability to have energy mentally is really important. And when all you're eating is really high nutritious food, bunch of sugary fucking fruits that just constantly have you up and up and up and going, you're not gonna have brain fog and be able to focus. You're not gonna have like this like fucking TikTok, Instagram, like retard coon brain that just can't focus. You're gonna be able to focus, which will make you better at bodybuilding. If you run a business, for example, in my case, after 7 hours of working with clients, I would be hungry as fuck because I'd be tired. I wouldn't even be hungry. I'd just be like, I need food because I'm fucking exhausted from this thing I've been doing. And that would sabotage my bodybuilding because my business is more important. Whereas now, everything's just working so much better. By proxy, my bodybuilding's improved. And then I can focus more on my workouts. But then also, just bodybuilding aside, who doesn't want to be able to focus on the things they need to focus on? Fuck bodybuilding for a second. If you can't focus on a book, your business, martial arts, if you do that kind of shit, like I would stand there like 6 months ago when I would stand there doing MMA, and an instructor would tell me something, and they'd be like, "Do you understand?" I'd be like, "No, I'm sitting in a cloud of retardation right now because I'm eating garbage food." So outside of bodybuilding, brain fog's really fucking shit. Inside of bodybuilding, it's fucking shit. So get rid of brain fog, and your life will improve massively. Next, no more joint pains or lame inflammatory shit. So one of the fucking coolest benefits to this diet for me has been simply, I have significantly less joint pain than I've ever had. When you're not highly inflamed from sugar, gluten, wheat, processed foods, all your pre-existing injuries or just general little nagging things here and there, and I have a lot of those from MMA especially, they go away and you heal quicker. When I get banged up at kickboxing or MMA or whatever, or even it's just in the gym if I overtrain or something, it heals so much quicker than it used to because I don't have a bunch of inflammation in my body. So if you have pre-existing injuries or just joint pains or whatever, and joint pains get exacerbated by weight cuts because you don't have as much gelatin and collagen and then the building blocks of your connective tissues running through your system because you're in a deficit, then you add on top of that a bunch of inflammatory garbage foods that are not serving you nutritionally, you're looking for disaster. You're going to feel physically shit in the gym. Your joints are going to be banged up. This diet is going to remove that. But other inflammatory shit, like brain fog, for example, which is just inflammation of the brain, acne. I used to have pretty fucking bad cystic acne. To this day now, 3-4 months later, after switching to this diet, I have way less acne. I have almost no acne nowadays. I get a few, little blotches here and there, but I used to have so much cystic acne on my face, my chest, my back, and now it's almost all cleared up. At this point, it's just a few scars that need to heal up. So all the different symptoms of inflammation, which has been shown to be one of the biggest killers in human history, allowing you to then train more frequently and harder because you're not in pain, or skipping legs because your knees hurt, etc. Next is there's no fluff or useless nutrients. Now, I kind of already touched on this, but I'll double down on it. If you are bodybuilding as a natty, whether you're cutting or bulking, but especially if you're cutting, you should be thinking about leveraging as many nutrients as you can. But in general, bodybuilding used to be about health. In the early 1900s, late 1800s, the golden era, it was about health and vitality and longevity. It wasn't about fucking dirty bulking or injecting 4 grams of test so you're 120 kilos of fucking muscle and therefore you can eat 5,000 calories. You don't have to worry about nutrient partitioning. But when you're natty, you should pride yourself in being healthy and fucking vital as fuck, dude, and living as long as you physically can. Like, I don't know how else to put it. It doesn't make sense to me that like bodybuilding has become this bastardized thing where everyone's got back knee now and they're injecting fucking test and tren and overcompensate. Like, here's the thing: if you're on gear, if you're not natural, the funny thing about that is, it's not funny, but like the irony is, the unhealthier you are, the bigger you are. Like, the more shit you take, the more fucking like shit you eat, the bigger you are. It's the polar opposite if you're natural. If you're natural, the healthier you are, the bigger you are. If you're mad healthy, if your nutrients are on point, your lifestyle's fucking awesome, you eat really good foods, you're just a healthy motherfucker, your test is higher, your cortisol's lower, everything's functioning better, your thyroid's higher, so you can eat more food, and therefore you're going to be bigger and stronger. So think about it in the sense that if you're a natty, take pride in your health, be healthy as fuck, and you'll be bigger and stronger for it. I'd argue also, if you're on fucking gear, do the same thing. Be healthy as physically possible. If you're injecting 4 grams of test every fucking day, or whatever, I don't know, fucking most people inject, but if you're taking test, dude, you're gonna die earlier, so you may as well mitigate some of that with a really fucking good diet. But if you're natty especially, eat good shit. Next is it just feels right. I don't know how to explain it, but every diet I've ever done has just felt like it's missing something, or it's got something in it that it shouldn't have there, or even the vertical diet by Stan Efferding is a fucking excellent diet. But I just felt like there was something not quite exactly right about it. This diet, every time I eat a meal, every time I look at my food, every time I ingest it, every time I, fucking go buy groceries or whatever, I'm like, this is just right. This is what we've all eaten for tens of thousands of years. Fruit, meat, and dairy. And we would very rarely get vegetables unless we absolutely starving, until we became fucking peasants and started creating wheat and potatoes. It just feels right. When you're in the supermarket and you get 10 kilos of fucking bison and kangaroo meat and fucking just dense, lean red meat, and you have 10 kilos of vegetables, not vegetables, 10 kilos of fruit and fucking 10 liters of fucking dairy products on your fucking conveyor belt, and the next person next to you is eating Wheaties and processed garbage, and they're looking at you like you're a fucking psycho. That just feels right, and you feel superior, which is really important. When things feel right, they're more adherable. If you feel really fucking like psyched about something because there's all these different benefits and it just feels good, you're going to adhere to it like way better. If you're having doubts, it's going to be hard to do something, even if it's working really well. If you're doubting it, it's going to fall apart. All right, now I'm going to go over some of the downsides, but then at the same time, how you can get around that. First one is, this shit's pretty fucking expensive, especially if you're 100% about it, right? So if you're taking the organic, grass-fed, non-fucking caged eggs, like, super GMO-free, just organic approach, it's going to be an arm and a leg at the end of the week. I mean, I spend about 300 fucking bucks a week in a deficit on this diet because I'm going with the grass-fed organic options. Now, some weeks I've just gone, fuck it, like I don't have time to go get the organic stuff, or I just don't want to spend that much money, and I'll go, just non-organic. And honestly, there's not really probably a huge difference. But what I would say is, if you have the money, it's probably worth it. Every little percentage counts. And one thing, food for thought, is the healthier you're eating, the less brain fog you have. The less brain fog you have, the more money you can make. So let's say you're investing 300 bucks a week on the shit that goes into your fucking body that runs your entire existence, and then by proxy of that, you make significantly more money, then it's well worth it. But in saying that, if you don't have a bunch of money, I get it. And there's a bunch of videos already by Paul Saladino himself showing you how to go into Costco and spend $50 and fucking get a whole week's worth of food. So you can sort of like change it. You could have like the low, fucking cost option where you're eating like ground beef and just bananas all day and some milk. But then you can all go all the way up to the point where you're eating like raw kefir, raw milk, fucking organic like steaks and shit like that, like I am, and spend heaps of fucking money. But there is budget options in this diet. It's not as expensive as it seems. Next one is some people still crave and don't adjust as easy. Now, is it like keto or carnivore where adjusting is like you get a fucking flu and you feel like shit, and then as soon as you go out of keto, you get all the cravings again? No. But for some people, 3 or 4 days, bang, they're in it, and it's like, whoa, this fucking thing's awesome. For other people, it takes like a few weeks, and those few weeks can be a bit turmoil because you're like, what I find with those people, my clients and family members and stuff that I've suggested this diet to, is the unhealthier they are, the harder it is to adjust. If you're just used to eating shit all day and then you eat this like super healthy fucking diet, you're gonna get mad cravings for a little bit. But you just gotta stick to it and understand that as soon as you've hit that threshold and you go to the other side, you're gonna feel fucking excellent. And those cravings are gonna go away, and the adjustment is just gonna be a little bit tough. But that's all I could say about that, really, is it's so much easier to adjust to than like a keto or a carnivore, one of those diets that also remove cravings. It's just, you're still eating carbohydrates, you're still working on glucose, you're not switching to ketones. It's just simply that if you're mad unhealthy and you're eating shit food, then it might be harder to adjust. But I'd imagine that 99.9 watching this video are probably already pretty optimized and healthy like I was 6 months ago. You just needed that extra 5% or whatever, and it's quite easy to adjust to. It was like natural as fuck. Unlike keto and carnivore in the past where I just couldn't always switch to it. It would be really fucking tough. The last point is that bulking could be tough for some. Not me, for 2 reasons. I'm not poor, thankfully. Buying the fucking amount of food that you might need on a bulk for this diet could be tough, because if normally you bulk on 3,000 calories, you'll bulk on 4,000 calories on this diet, which is cool because there might be a bunch of lean gains coming your way. And I'm going to bulk up in 2 weeks from now on this diet. I'm going to document the process and go through the pros and cons and make another video like this for the weight bulking or the weight gaining, the massing, the bulking phase. But for now, I would just imagine that, yeah, it could be tough to bulk on this diet financially too, because you have to buy so much fucking food because you're eating 5,000 calories, 5,000 calories worth of meat and fruit and dairy, which are not the most calorific foods. However, there's probably some cheaper, easier ways around this, like for example, milk and honey. If you just drink 2 liters of fucking milk and like a fuck ton of honey a day, that's pretty cheap. A carton of milk, 2 liters of milk is like, fucking $5. Half a thing of maple syrup or honey or whatever is like, $2. It's cheap as shit. You pay $6 a day to get like probably 2,000 fucking calories. So that's fucking cheap as and easy as. But like if you were trying to bulk off like just the meat, for example, that'd be extremely expensive. But once you've got your 1 gram per pound of body weight, the rest should come from carbohydrates and fats. And so milk and maple syrup or honey, super cheap, super easy. So that's a way around that. The only real thing I could see is that if you don't like eating a lot of food like me, I'm a fucking glutton, then bulking might be tough. 5,000 calories with this amount of food, you might be full as fuck. For me, I love eating. I love drinking maple syrup fucking milk. It's like the best fucking shit ever. This will be a breeze for me. And I think it'll be cheap as fuck. So, well, we'll see. Anyway, there might be a part 2, there may not be, but there might be a part 2 about tips and tricks that I also found on this diet. Anyway, keep an eye out for that. If you found this video interesting, try this diet out. If you're having cravings, you want to build muscle, you want to have a high metabolic rate, you want to have brain fog removed, you don't want your joints hurting, you want to be fucking healthy and vital as shit, like like late 1800s bodybuilders who were all jacked out of their mind, and that's all they ate was fruit, dairy, and fucking meat. Those motherfuckers, they were huge. People were always going, oh, they weren't natty, even though they literally couldn't have any other option than to be natty because the test wasn't invented until 50s. You'll feel right. It's not that expensive if you smart about it. It's a fucking awesome diet. I don't know why people don't talk about it more in a bodybuilding context. Maybe we'll get some more love from you guys. Anyway, peace out, bye.